All right. We're going live right now.
And welcome to Down the Alley. This is PMAC.
And Ted T.S. Spirides.
And Catherine.
Camera for a second. I'm back.
Yeah. And Katie. We're live. Going back to the live stream situation here. Gonna let you guys talk while I make sure everything's linked up here and working. But first snowstorm of the year last night.
Yeah, I didn't
Your
miss
thoughts?
it. I thought I missed it. Like I was kind of sad for a while, being like, "Oh, we didn't have winter." And then last night, it absolutely proved me wrong. That I was like, I don't like it. I hate driving in snow. PMAC knows I don't shovel snow. Like I like to look at it, but that's about it. And I'm kind of already over it.
Yeah, well, you were in the passenger seat. Us going out to training last night. How did I do in the middle of the snowstorm? It was pretty gnarly at like
It was
6:30 last night.
I agree. Well, getting home, it took us forever to get home. It was fine. Okay, so I should mute this. Sorry, I'm gonna be like everybody else and have it live as we go here so I can see real comments. No, you're a good driver in the snow. I am just a nervous Nelly in the snow. I just get so scared that we're gonna spin out.
I still haven't used last year with the feet upon feet of snow we got. I got an elite new snowblower last year. Still haven't used it this year. Didn't use it last night. I don't know why. Should have used it last night. And then this morning, I was too lazy. I just drove through. This makes people cringe. The Prior Lake coaches, Kepner and former Prior Lake coach Casey, if they're listening this week, are going to cringe because they specifically talk about people who drive on their driveway before shoveling, like, or if their like wives do it, drives them up a wall. Like they cringe, they hate it, up a wall. So I did that this morning. I
hate it, but I hate shoveling more.
Yeah,
that's your job.
It's my job, and I was lazy, and I saw my GPS, and it was going to take me over an hour to get to work today. So I didn't take the 10 minutes to do the driveway first before I left. I just drove right through it. Ted, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm not really a stickler about it either. Honestly, I don't really care that much. If there's streaks in the driveway, I'm like, I got to get my kids to school every morning. You know, a lot of people, if they're working in an office again where it's, hybrid schedule, it's kind of like if you get like half the time at home and half the time in the office, you can't really pull the card of like it's too snowy today. Like if it's your 2 days a week or your 3 days a week. I mean, maybe if it was like a world-class blizzard, then maybe, but like it had snowed yesterday. So like, I don't know. It doesn't really bother me, but so my situation today was back in like October, I'll even go back farther than that. Back in like May last year, when we finally decided that there was going to be no more snowstorms coming, might have been June, we said, let's run the snowblower dry, so that it doesn't have an issue starting. Okay. Yeah. We did that. And then in like October-ish, November, whatever it was, we put some gas in there, started it up. All right, we're good to go for the winter. And there was, a little bit of gas in there, but we haven't used it now for 3 months.
Yeah.
Didn't start this morning. So I actually had to shovel. Wasn't too bad. It was like actually a decent like way to get out and get some exercise and stand in a sunny day. But I was like it's just such a pain in the ass. Like you have these like tools that you buy to make your life easier, and they just make your life harder. Like, I think it's just easier to go out and
Don't
shovel
I
half the
had a
time than
minor freak out on Super Bowl Sunday. We had people over, you included, and not one, but both of my vacuums stopped working. And
Yep.
we've got dogs. Like I had vacuum. Luckily, if you're in the market for a vacuum and you are like, oh, a Dyson, no, I am gonna like no free ads, but they are not worth the money. They're not worth the money. There is so
Agreed.
many
Eh,
other
s
stick vacuum, like a stick vacuum,
Yeah.
yes, but you can find so many other stick vacuums that are just it's the cordless stick vacuum versus having a Dyson. I even have a corded
Yeah.
some sort of Bissell. Well, that one stopped working too. So my backup vacuum, so I had a minor
Yeah.
moment of panic that I was like, how I can't vacuum my house before people come over. But I don't recommend a Dyson. If anybody's got a
I,
Roomba, let me know how you feel. I know
yeah,
that like goes over dog poop, whatever. Do you have a Roomba? Like, or some sort of
yeah,
robot
so,
vacuum?
we had vacuum issues at our house, like, 6 months ago. Not that people really wanna hear about the vacuum situation, but, we had a Dyson
Solidarity,
stick
though.
vacuum,
Yeah.
and it shit on us. Like, it
Yep.
stopped, like, actually
Yeah.
work like, it worked, but, like, it
Did
just
you reset the
kinda
battery?
lost its power. I don't know. It was just I mean, we use it a lot. We got kids, right?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, we kinda were in the same boat, like, do we wanna spend another $400 on a vacuum?
No,
So we
you
went
don't.
to Sam's Club, 99 bucks, a stick Shark vacuum.
Yeah.
And we're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's a really great deal." Well, when we got home, it's corded. It's not cordless. So, like, oh, that's why it was
Oh,
only
yeah.
100 bucks.
Yep.
It's actually it actually is a really good vacuum. It works really well. Yes, you have to plug it in. It's got, like, self-propelled. So,
Oh.
like, when you push forward, it, like, goes for you. It's,
Oh.
like, got a little,
Yeah. Motor.
situation there. And then, Annie did get a Roomba that she runs. It's not like an everyday thing, but, like, we can run it when we're gone after we pick up, and that it works pretty well actually. So, I don't know if I would replace all vacuums in my house with a
Yeah, yeah,
Roomba, but
yeah,
it's
yeah,
if
yeah.
you're really a neat freak, you might want
Which I am.
both. But,
So
um,
there's something
but
out there. Roombas come as a vacuum and a mop now. So
mm,
like you track it like maps your floor, which I think the Roomba does, and knows and like you can program it to map to um like mop or vacuum. And that's on the market.
oh yeah,
That's on my list right now because we have a lot of hardwood, but I, that might have to get bumped to the bottom if I need a regular vacuum. I will say when I used the backup vacuum before that one went out on me, it had significantly more suction on it than the
mm,
Dyson did. And I
yeah.
thought that was very interesting and maybe it has something to do with the cord,
Yeah, I feel
but
like
any
there's
whoozle.
a lot of good dupes of a lot of products on Amazon,
I
and
agree.
yeah,
I
I and name
agree.
brand sometimes doesn't get it done. If you notice in the bottom corner here, we added our sponsor, Old Southern Barbecue. They get a little bit of advertising here, and I'm wearing the
I
sweatshirt
also
tonight.
know, yeah, your sweatshirt. I was gonna say you also. I'm wearing no branded clothes. I'm actually in like regular people clothes today.
Yeah, I'm
I'm a
not
norm.
sure what vacuum Old Southern Barbecue uses in on the
You're
floors
not
out
even
front,
sure which vacuum
or
we use.
I am not. I'm not sure what kind of vacuum Old Southern barbecue does in the back. Um, you know, I don't know what vacuum we're going to use on Easter Sunday. However, Old Southern Barbecue, if you're looking for a good Easter ham or a smoked Easter ham dinner or a double smoked Easter ham, Old Southern Barbecue is here for you if you're looking for some help on Easter. Um, they're probably not going to be able to help you with the vacuum, but they can help you make sure your guests are fed well.
Their
Ted, you
hams
love
are
ham. Don't you love ham?
I don't love it. I like it. I will say, um, Old Southern saved a ham for me on Christmas. Went over there and grabbed it. It was a good ham. It was real
I feel
solid
like you're
ham.
always like, let's add the ham.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my number one, but,
Huh.
it's nice to have some not poultry when you're at
Yeah.
poultry situations like,
Turkey
Thanksgiving,
dinner. Yeah.
Easter. I don't know if Easter's a turkey time, but, their hams are
It's for
good. They're
sure a
really
ham
good,
time.
and I do recommend them, and real easy, go pick it up, and, there's, like, reheating instructions, and you can just get that taken care of for you.
Shout out to Old Southern Barbecue. They sponsor our podcast and they sponsor the content. The content that we work off of is the same content that is available on our website to all the fans. It'll be ready tomorrow morning for all of you guys to review. We're going to be working off Section 3. Huge, huge shout out to Old Southern Barbecue for sponsoring the content of The Source. The Source, holy smokes. If you thought last week's deep dive was intensive, deep, long, just wait for Section 3. This could be a PhD, final paper. I haven't made it that far in school, so I don't know what they would call that. Yeah, Katie might know, but don't they do
Doctorate?
like a what?
A doctorate?
Yeah, but don't they do is it like a dissertation or what's their
Dissertation.
final?
Yeah,
Oh, bull!
dissertation. Yeah.
Look,
Yep.
where did I pull that out of? I have no clue.
Yep,
I pulled
dissertation.
that out
Very
of
good.
the Old Southern Barbecue Smoker out back. The
Yeah.
dissertation, um, uh, the source did a dissertation on Section 3.
I will
they do.
say, the source has a full-time job and has a family,
Which
and
I had to ask last year that I was like, do you work?
yeah, so, really
They said yes.
impressive just detail and willingness to dive in and do the research. That'll be coming out tomorrow on the blog if you want to like read through all the stats. I'll be honest, I did not get my boys section 3 up yet. I'm hoping to have that done by at some point tomorrow. Had some things that kind of caught me this week that had to jump in front of the podcast stuff, but um section 2 last week was testy. I got more messages about section 2 stuff than I did about section 1. So section 2 had a little bit more fire, a little more opinions. I didn't
So
think
I wasn't here for the Section 2 party. I've even heard off the mic, not outside of you. I know we've chatted about some things. I had some other conversations about Section 2. What did I miss last week? Like, get me up to speed. What was the big
Personally,
topic of Section 2?
once we're
Where do I
done
need to fill in?
recording,
What do the people quickly Section 2 need PMAC's opinion on?
once we stop recording, I black out. I don't remember what we said. So when
I
people
kind
are
of the
like,
same way.
some people call me or text me and are like, I can't believe you said this. And I'm like, yo, yeah. Positive or negative. Like some people will come up and be like, oh, that was so funny when you talk, remember when you talked about that? And I was like, yeah. I have no idea what they're talking about. So maybe that's my defense mechanism for the haters, but I don't know.
I think it's traditionally been a section that had a lot of strong teams, a lot of powerhouse, maybe teams with strong traditions, maybe some teams that were at one point really good, maybe not quite anymore, or maybe think they are going to be better this year or whatever.
There was movement in this section.
Yeah,
I think that's
and
probably
I
the
think
biggest thing.
there was movement. I think on the girls'
Which they
side,
have nothing to do with.
yeah, on the girls' side, it was pretty consistent to what, as far as the teams in the section last year.
Sure.
Obviously, on the boys' side, a couple of big names got moved. We talked about that.
So I got some heat. So just looking at
I,
the rankings, I got some heat from Mound West Tonka. Mound West Tonka. Not to say I've never heard of you, But Mountain West Tonka coming at me. I know Chaska was fired up about being missed on your guys'. I just want to say to the Chaska people, I'm riding. In Section 2 this year, I am riding with Chaska. I'm here for that border battle this year. I'm
Yeah,
here
you put them in
for,
your top 4, didn't you?
yeah, they're number 3 for me. This is boys. Full disclosure, we're talking about
Right, of
boys,
course.
Section
Yeah,
2.
right.
Chaska is my number 3, but I am riding them. I want them at number 1 at the end of the year. I'm with Chaska this year for Section 2.
Yeah, that's great. There you go. So
No one's
we've
watching
touched.
us,
I
and
mean,
I'm really bummed about that. Not even Mom.
that's all right. That's all right.
It's
It's
okay.
yeah. It
It'll
says we
be
have 2 people watching on YouTube,
I know.
but
I think it's
that's
me
probably
and
me and
BMAC.
you. Me and you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Section 2 is last week.
Yeah,
People
listen to
feel how they
BMAC.
want to
You
feel.
can
We'll
go listen
see.
to the podcast. You
We'll
say that to me
see
all the
how,
time if I miss something. You're like, go listen to it. So go listen to it
yeah,
if you feel like you missed out.
we'll see how things, we'll see how things shake out this spring. I mean, hey, prove us wrong. That's what I've been telling everybody. If we're sleeping on you, if we're disrespecting your program, win the section. And I'll eat crow on this video podcast, say I was wrong. I've done it before. A lot of times though, we're right. Am I wrong about
Yeah,
that?
that's the thing. But we should do a
So
lot more. I actually was thinking we should do a lot more food reviews. Like dips and things.
yeah. But yeah, at
You
the
don't
end
want
we're gonna
to?
talk about
I think
favorite tips.
we love salsa, but like
It's
I
at the
feel
end.
like we should be
It's at the
maybe
end.
it's my own desire to like eat. I don't know. But like
Maybe you should have
I
a
feel like
Katie's dip review podcast or
I
food
know.
podcast.
I love a dip.
The people that are here for Section 3, if they're still
Want
here for
nothing to do
Section
with dip.
3,
Yeah.
um, we're starting with the girls. We always start with the girls.
We
Back to
always start
this
with the girls.
dissertation
Yeah.
from the source. Let's kick this off. Section 3, girls lacrosse. Last year, looking back quickly, and this is kind of a theme on both sides of Section 3. This wasn't a section where the quote unquote favorites, the high seeds, ran away with it. Section
Yep.
3 was a free for all. It was anybody's section. There was upsets. Section 3 was for the fans. Last year, Eastridge came out as the 3 seed, making their way to state, beating the 5 seed Simley. An absolute wild card of a section.
And I believe if you go to the Instagram, I clipped out a podcast from a year ago.
Yeah.
Where you said, who's your Cinderella story? I had a couple teams, so I'm not just going to say only picked Eastridge, but
Yeah.
Eastridge girls were a potential Cinderella story team.
Love it.
They ended up, they were hanging around, and they played their best lacrosse at the perfect time. And so I agree with you. Is Section 3 the most unpredictable section? Is it the most fun section? If you don't have a horse in the race, you probably want to go watch Section 3 playoffs.
And we're going to tell you why as we dive into this section. Starting with the girls, as I read through this dissertation as best I could, a lot going on here. It seems like the people can anticipate another wild year. It sounds like everybody's back in the mix. Teams are neck and neck. It sounds like as this dissertation was being written, teams were moving around as the dissertation was being written. So it was till the last click of publish, and maybe the source is going to go back in even tonight before tomorrow morning and adjust some things. I don't know. I don't know if they might. They might. However, from the top, going into kind of the top 4 of 2024, according to the source, they have landed on Eastridge being the favorite. Super close. There's a few reasons why, but by no means does the source think they're going to run away with this section. Eastridge, what do you guys have on Eastridge?
Well, Ted picked him as a Cinderella story. Okay, so the thing I asked the source to do, because I'm lazy and the source I wouldn't have a job if it weren't for the source, was to put like what happened last year, because I feel like I've already, like I said, I black out after we post the podcast. So, not to mention how much I have forgotten about the spring season, about where they landed. So, no disrespect to teams last year as we talk about you, if we completely fail to mention the fact that, like, if I'm like, did they go to state? Did they even win their section? My bad, okay? They won section 3. So they went to state last year. So they were the section champ last year, beating Simley in a 9-8 game. That's a huge section like final, if you ask me. Like you said, who said it? Ted PMAC. Go watch this section, because the final game is a 1-goal game. Like, that's it. Sometimes doesn't even get that good in state. Doesn't get that good in state. Sometimes those first round games are kind of bigger gaps than that. The source, and I agree, that the top 3 teams, kind of anyone's game. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, so just starting with Eastridge, because that was the first one on their list. I think an amazing run last year. They did lose 3 scorers that I think are going to be important. The number looks like the number 3 scorer, the number 4 scorer, and let me look at the other one here. And the number 6 scorer. So they lost some people. That being said, they have some gals that are coming back, including their
Wait
leading
for
2
it.
scorers,
And the goalie.
and their goalie.
This is just
And
my feet.
so
I
a
think this
lot
is
of the
the hill I'm going to die on, is if a goalie comes back, you're going to have I think
yeah,
that's a shoe-in
uh,
for a lot of
and
really solid
so
success.
this is a group that plays together in the summer. You know, a lot of them play on the same club team. A lot of the team that, had that Cinderella run last year is back this year. I don't know if I'm ready to say like they're unanimous number 1 for me or hands down number 1. But they should be a good team this year. They're well coached, they're organized, and they have a strong program. So, I think they're maybe the team to beat technically, but as we said, this is a crazy section where I think it's pretty competitive. I think there's anybody can beat anybody.
Yeah,
I
for
agree.
me,
I think, like I said last week, I think for me, I like them this high. But I agree that I think this is going to be a really interesting section. Dare I say the most interesting section, having the most, like, honestly, toss up for the outcome. But I think I'm going to stand by the fact that I think, like, everyone's like, oh, they lose so many points, but I like to look at it the other way around, glass half full kind of gal. And I think that keeping a goalie and having solid couple seniors, and their leading scorer looks like she's only a junior, Kira. I think that they're going to be keep rising to the top. I don't know if I'm going to put them at number 1 yet either. But I guess looking, PMAC, anything to say? Otherwise, we can move on to the next team.
yeah, for me to close out Eastridge here, for me, Eastridge, I trust the
Nothing.
source. I can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. So for
I
me,
can't
I
hear him.
trust the source. I'm riding with the source.
Oh, there we
Also, they
go.
won the section. So, for me, I have Eastridge at 1. And two, as we talk about the boys later, Eastridge for me, there's just a vibe. Like Eastridge was kind of a goalie factory pre-COVID. I don't know if COVID hurt them. That if they were going through a rebuild. I know on the boys they were super young. Again, something we'll talk about. So for me, Eastridge, it just seems like a lacrosse community that's making its comeback. So for those few reasons, I'm riding with Eastridge here in the preseason, being my number one. For those few reasons. On to the next team on the sources list. Number 2, Park Cottage Grove. Last year, a record of 13-2. Number 1 seed in Section 3, upset by Simley in the Section semis. They have made it to state pre-COVID.
Shout out to
A
that.
lot to chew on on this one. A lot to chew on.
Yeah,
what do you guys got on
first time, one time state a tournament appearance as a South Washington County with Woodbury. So in just a couple of years, okay, I guess it's 5 now, but with COVID, they've become 2 teams and both really successful in their section. So that's like, talk about growing the game. I think that's super cool that just back in 2019 they were a co-op and now they've had the strength to kind of like disassemble and still have a lot of strength in the section.
Yeah, I really like Park. We had their coach on last year. I picked him to win the section last year. It didn't happen. But they get a couple really big, players back. They get their goalie back.
Love that.
They have 8 seniors, and then their 3 kind of, I don't know, key players that they get back are actually juniors. So they did lose Shelby Hansen, is a phenomenal player. She's at Concordia St. Paul now. I know she was someone that stood out to both PMAC and you, Katie. I think when you had seen them play, or had seen some film or something like that. So that'll be a big loss, but I think they get a lot of core back, and I think this is one of those weird things, like one of those weird like coaching phenomenon things, like team things, like they have an advantage because I think they felt like they fell short last year. I think
Good point.
they're like there's that just like that little extra hunger, not to say that Eastridge or anybody else isn't trying to win or isn't hungry, but there is something about that bad taste in your mouth with a competitive group to really to really motivate you in the off season, to keep you focused. Maybe you're going to do a little bit extra. I personally saw that with the Lakeville North boys this past season. In 22, they lost in the sections, and in a way that they fell really short, and those guys were motivated. I think the same is going to be for Park here.
I like that take. I think you're right. To get upset by what, I don't even know what rank they were. But I think that's
I think they were the 1 or the 2, and they lost. Yeah.
Yeah, they were the 1, but I wonder, gosh, let's move on because I want to get to the team that upset them. And as I'm reading the dissertation forward, it looks like the same team upset this next team also. PMAC, do you want to introduce them?
They did. Woodbury, a record 8-6. They were the 4 seed going into the sections. And like Katie said, was also upset by Simley, who was just rolling in sections. They were upset by them in the quarterfinals. They were also a part of that combo, the South Washington County team that went to state in 2019. Woodbury, I'm going to get my point across here. They're my number 2 team if we're sneaking ahead into our rankings for one reason and one reason only. They've got a Hooley on the roster. And if you've got a Hooley on the roster, D1 commit, obviously has a ton of skill. If she's got 1% of the of the fire, and I'm sure she's got a hell of a lot more than 1% of her brother. This team's going all the way. I wanted to put them at 1, but I trust the sources work. Hooley, watch out for a Hooley taking this squad all the way in Section 3. What do you guys got?
I was going to say the
reading
same
on,
thing.
They get their goalie. Get their goalie
back. They did get a lot. They have a lot of players that came back. They did lose an attackman, but only lost 3 seniors last year. So another team that, gets the majority of the core back. And no doubt about the Hooley thing. That it's not a name you want to see on the scouting report if you're part of this section. And I obviously going to play Division I lacrosse, so obviously a really good player. They could be sneaky good this year. And I think one thing that's noted here is that defensively, they weren't very strong last year. And I think that kind of hurt them as they got into playoffs. So, I'm sure that's been a focus now, over the off season and kind of planning on how they want to handle that. But they do get their goalie back. So, tighten up some things on the back end. They should certainly have the scoring. So,
Shout out to this
I like
goalie,
this team a lot.
over a 60% save percentage. That's good in boys. That's even better. That's kind of crazy in girls because of the closer
Check
shots
this out, though.
things.
This is actually a great call out. Super interesting stat. 60% save percentage, like you said, that's elite.
Yes.
But a 10.21 goals against average. How many shots a game was this gal taking?
A lot of rubber. A lot of rubber was coming on net last year.
How I guess I could do the math here or something, but to give up 10 goals a game, that's probably I don't know, middle of the road. But to have 60% save percentage, that's a top 1% goalie.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna look and see how many shots. I don't think it'll it might have how many shots you took. You can move on here.
Be in the 20s on net.
All these teams so far have goalies coming back, and we know how much I love that.
On to the next, number 4. Another school. Another school I'm getting the Eastridge vibes from. Creighton Durham Hall. Their boys program had an awesome season last year. This team on the rise, starting to get in the mix on the girls' side as well. A record of 9-6, number 2 seed in Section 3 last year. They were upset by the Cinderella story Eastridge. They've been to the state tournament 3 times, all pre-COVID. CDH. Is CDH becoming a lacrosse school?
I don't know, but for some reason...
Or is that a stupid question? Have they been a lacrosse school?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
I don't know. They've been to state a couple times, but for some reason, CDH keeps sticking out in my mind. And I don't know, I don't really... And I'm not keeping tabs on the Rosga girls, really. I know the younger one is there. But for some reason, I've been kind of waiting to get to them because I feel like it fell really short last year. 2 seed, and then they got upset.
Yeah.
And for a reason why I feel like this might be a little bit of that chip on the shoulder, kind of unfinished business. This might be my take on that. Ted, what was yours?
Yeah.
Woodbury? No, Park Cottage Grove. The CDH might be that for me.
Looking at this, they were 8-2 through their May 12th game, and then they lost 4 to their last 5 games.
That's tough.
So they lost to Chan, Park, Buffalo, and Eastridge in the section. They lose 11. They lost 11 seniors. One of them being their goalie. However, the key thing that stands out to me here. So they get Sophia Watts back, 86 points last year. Jordan Rosga, 94 points. She was a 2028 She's a 2028. She was
What's that, a 8th grader?
She was a 7th grader
7th
last
grader.
year and had 94 points in
Yeah.
varsity lacrosse in
Yeah,
Minnesota
that's
as a
wild.
7th grader.
Yeah.
That's insanity.
It's
Like,
insanity.
I mean, and it's not like they're playing, like, bad teams.
Right.
They're
This is a
in a good
competitive even their
section.
section's competitive, yeah.
So, like, if you have a player and, like, her sister's obviously a accomplished player playing at Maryland. So, like, if you have a player like that, I don't care what grade they're in, that's crazy. Like, it has to like, that almost it feels like a
Yeah.
mistake. Like, he wanted to put 49
Yeah.
points, but accidentally put
Yeah.
94. But that, you know, I don't know, like, that might just be a player you can, just give the keys to and let them go and run the show for you. So, um, yeah, but, you know,
Well, it's
lost
their
their goalie,
goalie.
so I don't know if they I mean, who knows who they have coming up or whatever, so that might be an issue,
The
but,
thing I had
and then just to
noticed
go back to Woodbury.
I noticed that, like, it doesn't seem like they have a particularly strong class. I mean, they're 23s where they're strong class. They lose 11 2023s, but it doesn't seem like they have a particularly strong core of one grade, which could be good, which could be bad. But if Sophia Watts is kind of their only senior anchor, I think that's going to be kind of hard to rally around one person. You kind of need a couple, and I don't know, maybe they have a higher number of 2024s than we're noting. But that would be really interesting is the deviation of all of those classes. Yes, Jordan is an insane player, but I feel like you need a couple in each grade to kind of anchor at each of the positions. And if they lost that many seniors, who, like, is everything else just so much discrepancy that there's no one core kind of group? Maybe they're all, not saying that you can't be like close and have good camaraderie with girls that aren't in your grade. In my experience, it seems like when there's a core group of one class, that seems to make a little bit, like, you kind of grow around them. They're kind of the center of the flower. So it'll be really interesting if that disparity helps them or hurts them at all.
Yeah. One thing, going back to Woodbury, their, goalie Peyton, it might be Feigl or Fiegel, uh, took 330 shots on goal last
Jeez.
year and had 201 saves for that 60%
Yeah.
save percentage.
That's
So,
wild.
I feel like 330 shots against on goal is a lot in, 14, 15 games. But, so shout out to her.
The 5th seed. It's weird it's taken this long, admittedly, for this team to finally make its appearance on this list. Simley, a record of 8-8, the 5th seed in Section 3, lost to Eastridge in the finals. They've never been to state. They were 1 goal away last year. Simley, according to the source, they're going to go as far as their offense can take them. If they can reload their defense, anything can happen.
Are the Kurowski sisters, they didn't graduate, or did one graduate?
They both come back.
Oh, they both come
One's
back.
a senior, one's a
25.
junior.
There they are. Okay. Oh, what up, St. Ben's? I remember that game, 5 seed in Section 3 section finals. I remember that. Yeah, 1 point game. We just talked about it, Katie. Duh. I remember hearing about that and, like, how crazy nuts it was. You know, putting them on the list, like, I agree. It's like they're in the section final. They lost by 1 goal and they're, like, this far, essentially one of the last teams we talk about. It does seem like a little like we're clueless, to be honest. but I just don't foresee them having kind of like the depth. But I like what the source says. Um, they can win the section, and I think they're getting better and better and better. They are going to have a coaching change, I believe. I believe they're getting a new coach this year. So that's always in the mix, always something in the mix. Um, honestly, I'm gonna say that they're my Cinderella story because I was gonna say that about like Cretan Durham Hall, but I think Cretan Durham Hall is in the mix. So I'm gonna say this team, I don't know why, is just gonna be my Cinderella story. Do I get one per section, or do we get one total?
One per section, I think, is fair.
One
Oh,
Oh,
total.
one
okay. We're
total.
50-50. This might I still might take them as I still might take them. They make it to the section final. They lose by 1 goal with a record of 8-8, fifth seed. I think they can do it. I think they can get to this section. I think this is their year. They've never been to state. I think they can do it. I still don't think I'm going to put them like number 1, but I would love to see them be ranked 4th or 5th again and get through. I think that to me is Cinderella like.
Ted, anything to add?
No, I think they had a good run last year. They do get a lot of players back. They get their goalie back.
Love that.
Anything can happen. Um, this is such an interesting section where I think at any given day, what team do you get? What team shows up? Which team's sleeping? I think we saw it last year in the playoffs where everybody can kind of beat everybody. There's no one dominant team, but there's not like a lot of bad teams either. It's a lot of like above average solid teams.
To your point, next team on this list, St. Croix Prep, 9-5. 9-5. They were the 6th seed last year. They have not been in the state tournament yet. This is the school that they copied my hedge fund logo.
Well, you copied theirs.
No. Their logo is my hedge fund, and yeah, they return a lot. They had a great record. Um, Notes on their schedule, accurate. Um, they've added a couple of good teams, good challenges, to that schedule this year. They've got a young core. I think this isn't. I met a couple of their coaches at the youth state tournament last year too. I think this is a team on the rise. I think this is an interesting team. My hedge fund. What do you guys got?
I think they're just like huge fans of the pod. So, and like they're probably some of our nicest fans and like the most like genuine, I think. So, I like let's just keep talking about them because we love to see their logo pop up here and there. They still kind of are just it's going to be really interesting to see their games against who did they schedule this year? Um
Eastview and
Simley
Simley's in
for
the
sure,
mix.
I know.
Yeah.
What were the other ones? Wiper Lake, Eastview. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
So I think we should just keep talking about them just for the sheer fact of they're for the brand.
They're definitely for the brand. The 7th ranked team in this section, Visitation, 8-6 last year. The 7th ranked team, according to the source in this section, was 8-6 last year. That impressive. This is a deep section that things could definitely get interesting. Anything to add on them?
No, I know that their Holy Angels kind of big rival. They had some good games against Holy Angels.
Nice. Hastings, a gritty team. Huge improvement from 2 years ago to last year. This is a team on the rise. Another lacrosse, I feel like, passionate community. Excited to see what they bring in 2024. Rounded out up by a couple of other teams here, looking to work their way up the list. Section 3, girls side, extremely competitive. I think a lot of people are in the mix. to win it and go on runs. I nothing else to add for me. What do you guys? Anything else to add?
I think it's pretty
I think you
solid.
said it.
Pretty solid roundabout.
And over to the boys.
Do you want to do picks?
Oh, of course. Girls first, Katie.
I'm going to go. Gosh dang it.
Are we going 4-1 or 1-4?
It's up to you. Just call it out.
4-1.
4-1. Okay.
Oh, you guys.
I have mine if you want me to go. If you need time to think. Okay. My number 4 team is going to be Woodbury. My number 3 is going to be Eastridge. My number 2 is Cretin-Durham Hall. And my 1 is Park of Cottage Grove.
My number 4, my hedge fund.
I got to go.
Number 3, my turn. Number 3, Simley. Number 2, Hooley and the Woodbury gals. They'd be number 1 if the source didn't do such a good dissertation. Eastridge at number 1.
You did put Simley in there.
At number 3.
I'm going to go 4 Woodbury. 3 Eastridge. 2 Park of Cottage Grove. 1 CDH.
Wow, we are all over the place, yeah?
We're all over the board.
Me and Katie are pretty similar. We have it just flipped. We have Park and CDH flipped, but other than that, same 4 teams, same order.
Literally, it's
I'm surprised Katie has Woodbury so low with the goalies. The goalie that they have. Then she's big on goaltending.
I'm big on goaltending, but like I said, I couldn't go back on CDH now.
Yeah. This will be interesting. I wanted to squeeze Simley in there too. Because they feel like a team that they feel like a team that could go on a run. They proved it last year, but
maybe it's all a joke for us.
Yeah.
This is a really star.
We're clueless.
Asterisk, bookmark, earmark, tab. This section, I think, for us, because set a reminder in my phone that we need to come back to this one because this is going to be really interesting.
And over to the boys. Section 3. This is a section that's kind of changed hands over the last few years. You had Hooley and Woodbury a couple years ago. Last year, Cretin-Durham Hall and our buddy Eddie between the pipes. Talk about goalies. Eddie carrying.
Eddie the Eagle.
Is he the one who broke a rib?
Yeah. You could have said anything and I would have said yes. I think he did break a rib.
Okay, who's B. Willie?
Easy on, just call. Stop. Just stop. I'm cutting you off. Eddie and Cretin-Durham Hall came out of the section at the 4 seed last year. Egan, we talk about the Wildcats. They're wild. They were the 2 seed. I think this went to double or triple overtime, if I'm not mistaken.
4.
It was a quad. It was a quad.
I had CDH and at 1, and they owe me a Juicy Lucy, I think.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, you did put CDH at 1.
I did, and
you did. I forgot about that.
I'm pretty sure I'm owed a Juicy Lucy for putting CDH. That was, and I want to cash in on that.
Talk about throwing a dart right there. Absolute dart of a pick. CDH at 1 in this section, and I remember a couple of the kids commented and were like Katie we'll prove Katie right, and unbelievable.
And they did, and somebody promised me a Juicy Lucy, and I've not cashed in, but I'm pretty sure I need to go. What is it at the Nook? Is that right by
the Nook? Yeah, Yes, it's across the street.
Hey, you might just see
So
me
this is
there.
an interesting section it's an interesting section because last year, like on the girls' side, I think a lot of these teams beat each other in the regular season, so seedings were kinda just I think they probably just rolled up, like, pulled cards, pulled straws, rolled the dice, I don't know, because it seemed odd, and then all of a sudden, everybody's beating everybody. I think STA was the favorite going in, and they didn't even make it out of the semis, so it was a nuts, it was a nuts, section. I think, kind of according to sources, Woodbury is sort of the team that gets the most back, and has kind of like an older team and gets a lot of guys back, led by Quinn Olson, Max Henry, Carter Nelson, Brecken Warwa. Uh, they got Quinn Tolke, and a couple good junior goalies. So like they have the pieces. Max Henry also a faceoff guy, I believe, for them. So
Hooley was
it
gone in
it kind of
2022,
feels.
right?
He was a senior in 22.
Yeah, he
Okay,
graduated in
because we talked about the
22.
fact that we
And
can't replace
Woodbury
him.
last year, if you remember last year, we kinda were like, Woodbury's gonna be terrible
Yeah,
because they
yeah.
lost, a generational talent. And they were solid last year. Honestly, I'm gonna pull up their record here quick, but I mean, they only had lost 1 or 2 games, I think, last year until sections. Just again, more proving that it was just a wild section. Um, I think that they get a lot of players back. They're well coached. They've been there before. They were 12-3 last year. Honestly, one of the better teams in the state. Top 10 team probably the whole way through. Um, and then just basically ran into I'm gonna pull up here. I think it was Egan. No, they lost to Cretin in the semi. So they lost to the eventual hot team going through sections. Lost 8-7 in the section semi. So I think they get the proverbial chip on shoulder this year. I think they fell short of where maybe they felt like going into the section playoffs. They thought they, had a really good chance. They kind of upset by the Cinderella story out of that
How
section.
much do you think having to play Hastings in the quarterfinal affected Woodbury in the semifinal? Hastings brings a gritty style of
Yeah.
play. Do you think they were banged up going into that section final?
Who did Cretan play in the quarters?
Eastridge, a young
Do we
team,
know?
probably not gritty because they're young and skilled. Are they
That's not.
gritty, or am I wrong?
Yeah. Yeah. No. 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 They're not
Yeah, right.
Hastings
That's
gritty.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting point. You know, it, it could have taken a little bit out of Woodbury just having to deal with Hastings. They play a tough style. And Hastings was solid last year. We scrimmaged them. They had some really nice players. So, um, yeah, I don't know. That could have been a factor, 1 goal game, that could have been the difference, the little bit left in the tank, that, Cretan had. But, it's going on. I mean, guess speaking of Eastridge, a team on the rise, they've been running out 8th and 7th graders for the last 2 years, I feel like. And Farmington's actually played Eastridge the past 2 seasons, so in 22 and in 23. And, like, despite them having younger guys, it was not like an easy game. Like, we won both of those games, but it was much more of a frustrating, difficult game than we anticipated it being. And now those kids are all again a year older. Like, I don't know what's going to happen when they finally are like upperclassmen. I feel like they're just going to
Yeah.
dominate. Because I'm always like, oh, who's this guy? Who's that guy? Freshman, 8th grader. Goalie was an 8th grader last
Jeez.
year. Uh, well coached. Again, kind of like Eastridge girls. A lot of them play together in the summer. with their club team. So they're a tight knit group. Lacrosse community is as PMAX says, and I don't know if I agree with with them as a 2 in the preseason rankings from our East Side source, but they certainly have a chance. They gave a lot of people frustrating games last year, and I think their record improves because they're going to win some of those close ones this year.
I'm really interested in number 3 here. STA, a program now that's had the same staff for a couple of seasons. Um, you know, a program that they run things a certain way. They're a military school. Is some of that new structure with the new staff is that going to pay dividends now in 2024?
So, yeah, they're interesting to me too because I mean, they were loaded in 22 and 23. And 22, it was the Hooley show with
Right.
Woodbury, and he kind of carried them, and they had a lot of other good players too. But like last year, I kind of felt like it was STA's year. They were very like a senior heavy team in the sense, at least on offense. They had a lot of guys that have been close, been playing varsity for a long time. They had a top player, Matthew Hudson, had 83 points last year. Their goalie is a stud. And they just, I don't know what happened there. Honestly, again, like I said, I thought they were definitely going to win Section 3, and it ended up they weren't even in the final, so they lost to Egan in the
18 to
section
10.
semis, 18-10. So Egan just had one of their days. I think one of their Egan days
Well,
where
yeah, and when Egan
live
puts up
by
18,
transition, die by transition.
100%. When Egan puts up 18, unless you got, yeah, if Egan puts up 18, you're not winning the game. Like I don't think you can.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
impossible because then they're
Yeah.
in your head and you're losing your mind because that wasn't the game plan going in. Your game plan was to slow them down, and then you're trying to. It just doesn't work. Egan. Speaking of Egan, they're 5th on this list. CDH, I don't know if they can do it without Eddie. And maybe I'm giving too much credit to Eddie. Him graduating. But Katie, what are your thoughts? You're the CDH queen. Are they them being at 4? Is that right where they want to be right now?
But I think I love CDH and I love a Juicy Lucy, but I think I have to stand by my statement that a returning goalie weighs more to me than returning points. And they lost a goalie. He's a senior, right?
And not just a goalie. They lost.
They didn't
Eddie.
just lose. He's not.
I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that
He's like the
me,
greatest goalie of all
where
time.
this comes from, but I just feel like losing a goalie, especially one like that, who was an absolute like beast of a child because he played with broken bones and things, and you can't make up goals. Like, what am I trying to say? You can't make up the points for the points saved. Like the goalie,
Yes.
a returning solid goalie, even if they're just an average goalie, it is peace of mind. It is, I don't have to worry about that. It is, we know our game plan. We know their idiosyncrasies. We know how they're going to react. To me, that's worth its weight more than getting returning point scorers to me. And so CDH might be lower on my list this year because of that reason. Because I have put teams high on my list because of that reason. So therefore, I should just walk my walk and put teams low on the list for that same reason.
You put them too low, you might not be able to cash that Juicy Lucy
ticket. I am fully expecting that.
So then, kind of going back to SDA quick, they lost their their number 1 scorer 83 points, their number 2 scorer 50 points, their number 4 scorer 32 points. It looks like they do get back their 3rd scorer who had 43 last year. Then after that, it drops down into like the 20s and the teens. So like a big majority of their scoring is gone. They do have some solid polls on the team. Max Candon going to St. Joe's, I think. Hunter Carver's a pretty big pull, big athletic pull. And then they get their goalie back, who was, I think, 3rd team All State. If not, he should have been considered really solid player. He's a senior. So if anything, they're going to be the strongest defensive group going into this. And then, as PMAX said, in the 4 kind of on the list here, 4th on the list, Cretin was lived and died by their goalie last year. They were an average team all season. And then Eddie the Eagle got hot and just put the team on his back. They had a couple really good senior attackmen and midfielders last year that stepped up. So they're going to have to find a way to replace them. But Creighton returns a really good attackman. Luke Charlton headed to Maryville, I believe. It's Luke or John, one of the two. There's like 4 of them. So one of them's at Maryville now. One of them's a senior at Cretin. One of them's like a sophomore. And rumor has it that they have a transfer that's coming in that also is an offensive player. So they maybe replace some of the production on offense. They have some nice polls on their team. I don't know if they have a goalie. Certainly not one that's Eddie's caliber. So that's going to be a question mark.
Rankings. Katie, you went last time, right?
No,
do you want to talk about Egan?
Yeah, do we want to go anymore or no?
Egan's Egan.
Do you want to talk about Egan at all?
Like Egan's Egan. Did their big lefty attackman graduate?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's playing.
Yeah. They lost a couple.
Isn't that,
so
he's
Egan
playing
lost
D1 football. He's playing D1 football in South Dakota or North
they
Dakota.
Lost him.
North Dakota State.
Yeah, they lost him. They lost Tyler Husby, and they lost Riley Paulus, their stud faceoff guy, who also had a bunch of points last year. So they lost some key contributors, but I do agree with you, PMAC. It kind of doesn't really matter. They always find a way to be a good team, if not great. They had years where they've been great, but they're always like a respectable, tough, solid, gritty program.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who you got like on the roster. They'll just find who can do what job, and they'll just plug them in, and they'll play Egan style. The Cardiac Cats, they just loved overtime and like buzzer beaters last year.
Rankings, Katie. 4 to 1.
I don't know what has gotten into me, and I kind of hate myself for this. I'm gonna go 4 CDH. Sorry. 3 Eastridge, 2 Woodbury, 1 STA.
Whoa.
I don't know why. I just feel like they lost kind of how'd they lose to Egan last year.
Egan's Egan, that's how.
And so I feel like they're the ones for me that are going to have a chip on their shoulder. Don't tell JP.
Interesting.
I know, isn't it?
It's a very interesting take. 4 from left field. I'm going Hastings. 3 Egan. 2 Eastridge. 1 Woodbury. I am fading the private schools. I'm all in on the publics.
Yeah, wow. That's interesting. I'm going Egan at 4.
Wow, you guys.
Eastridge at 3, STA at 2, and Woodbury at 1.
And that should do it for Section 3 rankings. Looking ahead this weekend, we're getting together with a good amount of DTA Nation, over 50 of you, at the Down the Alley Coaches Summit. Super excited for that. There might be a couple of spots left in person. I think there's a couple. Email Katie at 36lacrosse.com if you want to sneak in. Otherwise, we've got openings for the live streaming option. We're live streaming the event, not a big deal, thanks to Game Time Media. If you want to check out the event via live stream, awesome speakers, great content. We're going to do a social afterwards. We've been talking about it for months now. For the people coming, super pumped. Can't wait to meet some of you for the first time. Can't wait to reconnect with you if we've met before. Down the Alley Coaches Summit, gonna be a good time. That's
lunch provided by Old Southern Barbecue. Lunch catered.
Deal.
Yep, so that's gonna
Honestly,
be good.
It's like at this
one
point,
last
if you're
piece.
not there, it's like, quite honestly, like, you better be out of town. Like, you better have a really good reason, because when do you get to do this? Like, when do you get to just go and like sit around, and whether like you can't do this, like, we all love lacrosse, whether you're, quite honestly, whether you're a parent and a fan, whether you're an assistant coach, a head coach, like a board member, like, this is how, and everyone always is like, oh, grow the game, whatever. It's like, this is how you grow it, as you sit around with some pals and some colleagues and like shoot the shit and like talk about, look, are we going to be flagged now because I said that?
Hopefully.
Like, talk and hear from awesome speakers. And if you are sitting there, if you listen to this, first of all, and you're like, I don't have anything to learn from them, who are like, then I don't want you to come, because everybody has something to learn from everybody. And quite honestly, you probably don't listen to our podcast if you think that anyways. But like, it's just going to be such a chill and cool day, and like, listen to our counterparts, like, share their knowledge. And anytime I've ever had a conversation with a fellow coach, I've picked up something, especially like when we're in the zone doing lac stuff. I have always picked up a little nugget, or even just was like, I love that. I love that you do that. That's such a good idea. And so what better way to get in the spirit of the season that we all complain is so short than to have a day with each other and have some lunch. And it's not too far away. I mean, unless you come from like Centennial area.
No. None of you have an excuse, because we have a coach driving from Duluth.
Okay,
Shout out the Duluth staff and coach. They're coming. So unless you live further than Duluth, screw you.
They're streaming it. The Moorhead coaches are streaming it.
Yeah.
So like, they're farther than Duluth.
Shout out Moorhead. Shout out the Spuds. Beauties.
Like, it's like, okay, yeah, I can understand. It snowed. I think they have more snow than us. But it's like, it is going to be just such a like cool, fun day. I feel sad if you're sitting there, like, you should feel like you've missed out at this point, and it hasn't even happened yet. And there's room for you. So if you're like whining about it, saying I didn't get it, you might have to take a little less lunch, okay? But there's room for you at our table. We want you to come, except if you're thinking you're better than everybody else and you have nothing to learn, then don't come. That's the only reason why you shouldn't come. But then you should reach out to us to speak next year. If you have nothing to learn, then everybody... What is Gold saying on our stream? I just got distracted by his comments. We have one watcher. We have one listener. It's from Golds. But anyways, that's what I have to say.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you, Katie. I think it is a great day. One like kind of last piece of news, I guess most people have they're in the lacrosse community have probably heard it or seen it at this point, but University of Northwestern St. Paul
Ooh,
announced that they are um, folding their lacrosse program, canceling their lacrosse program, Division Three NCAA Division Three program at the end of the season. Unfortunate news for the lacrosse community in Minnesota. They were the only on the men's side, the only NCAA program that we had because North Central folded either last year or 2 years ago. So that's
I kind
a
of want to.
setback
There's been a
for
lot of talk on this topic in the Discord, on the Twitters, in the text messages. I want to rant on this, not this episode. It might need to be like its own episode, or we get somebody on to talk about this with, because I think there's a lot to
yeah.
unfold. That like a quick rant wouldn't suffice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's too bad. It's too bad that it happened after they had already started the spring semester and the spring season. It kind of handcuffed the kids a little bit if there was a kid that potentially wanted to use their eligibility elsewhere. But like you said, there's probably a lot that goes into it that needs to be unpacked. But it's unfortunate. I think the girls' side of things have been able to flourish with Division Three and Division Two programs in the state. Wisconsin and Illinois have done a great job with Division Three and Division Two teams, and we just can't seem to figure it out here in Minnesota on the men's side, at least. So, um, I the good news, the rumor is they may offer a club option. They're going to co-op with a couple other schools that need numbers and just offer kind of a men's team that the kids can play on. So I think, if it really ends up being like they want to keep playing lacrosse, there'll be an option to do that. But yeah, I agree. Probably an episode for another day to kind of really dive into that.
And yeah, that's all we got this week. Thanks for tuning in. Again, Down the Alley Coaches Summit this weekend. Super excited about it. DTA Nation will be there. Otherwise, we'll be back next week. Section 4, 1 week closer. 1 week close. April 1 is going to be here before. It's going to be a blink of an eye. Can't wait.
Yep.
Talk next week.